Time is now 3 p.m. by the wall clock. Today is February 19th, 2025. We're meeting in the Tom Baker meeting room for the Historic Preservation Commission meeting. Please call the roll.
Commissioner Zenker. Commissioner Hull.
Here.
Commissioner Persley.
Here.
Commissioner Swanson. Commissioner Sackerson.
Here.
Commissioner Nodland.
Here.
And Chair Engel.
Here. All right. So we will first go down and look at the meeting minutes from January 15th. Were there any corrections, revisions, questions?
Oh, I move to approve.
Second.
All right. Any other further discussion? If not, then we'll take the vote.
Commissioner Persley.
Yes.
Commissioner Nodland.
Yes.
Commissioner Hull.
Yes.
Commissioner Sackerson.
Yes.
And Chair Engel.
Yes. All right, the motion passes and the meeting minutes are approved. We'll continue with the regular agenda, and that will be Lauren with the 2023 Historic Preservation Fund Grant Update.
Good afternoon, Chair Engel and Commissioners. There's two items under this agenda item here, so I'll just go through and kind of reiterate what's in the packet here, and then we can go through the separate items. According to the terms of the 2023 Historic Preservation Fund Grant, all expenses must be incurred for the specific grant by September 30th, 2025, or they will not be eligible for reimbursement. The total funding for this grant is $24,300. At this time, the Historic Preservation Commission has spent around $8,858 for the conference attendance and training at the National Alliance of Preservation Commission's conference, as well as additional walking tour maps for the Downtown Historic District and the Cathedral Area Historic District. A remaining total of about $15,441 still needs to be utilized by September 30th, 2025. The remaining project items identified under this grant include the Historic District streetlight banners for the Cathedral Area Historic District and the Downtown Historic District, and a walking driving tour brochure for the Highland Acres Historic District. The Historic District Streetlight Banner Project intends to produce and install banners in the Cathedral Area Historic District and the Downtown Historic District. The design for the Cathedral Area banners has already been chosen. The design for the Downtown Historic District banners has not been finalized and is still needed. The Cathedral Area is proposed to have 25 banners, and the Downtown Historic District is proposed to have 20 banners. Hardware and installation are necessary for the Cathedral Area. However, there is currently hardware on the streetlights for the Downtown Historic District, and the installation for those specific banners in the downtown area can be done by staff. The designs for the Downtown Historic District should be brought to the attention of the downtowners as a courtesy as part of this process as well, so please keep that in mind. A budget of $11,800 is allocated for this project item. Staff have waited to get quotes for the banners until a design for the Downtown Historic District banners is further along. For cost-wise for that, just to make sure we have a better chance of getting a lower cost for both the Cathedral Area and Downtown banners if they're grouped together. Staff recommends that the Historic Preservation Commission determine if design services are required for the Downtown Historic District banners and provide direction to staff on next steps for this project item. If the subcommittee for these banners is still looking to design those banners for the Downtown Historic District, determine a time and date to have a meeting to discuss those designs. I will move on shortly for the Highland Acres Historic District, just to provide that info before we come back to that recommendation. Commissioner Sackerson has finished drafting the text information.
I thought they were here.
Commissioner Sakerson has finished drafting the text information for the brochures, and staff has created some initial maps that may be used for portions of the brochure for the Highland Acres Historic District tour map. Staff is still compiling photos to attach to various text portions of that brochure. All this information will be sent to the printing company, which will place the information into the draft brochure layout. Once the printing company has finished doing this, a copy of the draft brochure will be provided to the Historic Preservation Commission for their review. The State Historical Society of North Dakota will also have to review the draft brochure before it can be printed. A budget of $3,000 has been allocated for the Highland Acres Historic District tour maps. No action for that item is required by the Historic Preservation Commission at this time.
Thank you, Lauren. So we need to get an update on where we're at with the downtown historic banners. Commissioner Nodland, do you have an update for us?
Well, I don't have much of an update. I would say that, yes, we're going to need design services. And then I would point out that we have talked about putting them in places that relate to the historic structures. And there are quite a few that are in areas that do not have hardware right now for banners. And so there might be a need for some installation of hardware. But I would say the other thing is that there are several city-related entities that need to see the banners as well, according to the city banner guidelines for the city. So it's not just the downtowners that I think we'll have to share it with through the process.
Commissioner Nodland, Chair, Commissioners, so I'm guessing the entity you're referring to is the Downtown Design Review, and we would bring that to them as a courtesy. However, I've confirmed with the other staff members on that board that they wouldn't need to make a formal motion or anything to approve it. It's more as a courtesy as well. Same with the downtowners, since it is within their purview.
Thank you. And then the other thing I was going to say was that I haven't called a meeting, and so since our first one, and so I would say if you can give me till our next meeting to come up with these ideas, and if I haven't been able to pull that together by then I'm going to ask somebody else to take over this subcommittee. If you can give me a few more, till the next meeting, but we'll get this spent. But I know that because we had talked about a little more complex design than the other historic districts, that there definitely is going to be a need for a designer.
And remind me, Commissioner Nodland, who else is with you on that subcommittee?
People on the downtowners had volunteered. Emily Sakerson had said she would help. Me, there was someone else. It's been a while.
We may want to enlist, Blake, is he?
No, Blake wasn't. He had just left the commission at that time.
Perhaps Commissioner Swanson would maybe,
Yeah, maybe, yeah.
with his design.
I'll ask.
That
We
would
were
be
trying to find people who have knowledge about the historic district.
And getting it to look good, right, on the banner? Or
Less
are we gonna-
about we assume it will look great, but more about what is the message that we want to convey in the downtown. So like Emily Sakerson had given us a couple of copies. I think it was from Bozeman, some examples where they interpret their downtown historic structures, and not just the structures, but the meaning of the structures and what the context is of those structures, and why are those, what do they represent? And so the question that we're trying to get to is, are we just putting up banners like the other districts where it just says you're in the district, versus using it as a way to interpret, like our walking tour map, using it as a way somehow to interpret the actual National Historic District themes.
Okay.
And so it's not just about the buildings, it's about the themes. And so that's the question, is that it's not just a simple design downtown Bismarck Historic District. Or is it? I mean, that, I don't think there's been any recommendation to the Historic Preservation Commission yet. It's just kind of like more of, is this an opportunity to highlight the themes of the district and the buildings that represent those themes? Or is it just to mark the boundaries and to let people know they're in the district?
So you have I'm sorry.
Commissioner, yes.
Do you have when you said you don't know, it's not just like we have in Highland Acres, where it's like on the telephone poles, where it's just Highland Acres Historic District, on the light poles. This is something that each banner would be different based on where it's placed in town, or not? Or
No.
is this just
This evolved at the very start of the commission, and we had talked about putting pictures, historic pictures of a building that represents a theme, and on the banner, like a lot of cities do. And then, but like the historic Highland Acres banners, they're all exactly the same, and they just let you know you're there. Whereas we had talked about putting one way we could do this is put a historic picture of a neighbor, it's just the defined boundaries of the existing national downtown Bismarck Historic District. So it's not all over town. It's just within the boundaries of the existing historic district. And so the plan had been from the beginning to put something, have a standardized format when we're in text, but to be able to possibly put these historic photos. And an example, if you go look, is how Bozeman does it. And there are many other cities that do it in a similar way. And so that had been the plan. Now, it's gone back and forth, and people have said, let's just mark the boundaries. But has been sort of the plan from the beginning. It doesn't have to keep being it. I just think we're in the middle of looking at how to interpret the themes. So when it could be a picture of a person, it could be a picture of the street, it could be a picture of a structure, but the opportunity to do some historic interpretation on these banners, downtown specifically, was the goal.
Is that reflected in the costs
Yes.
to producing different banners for different areas?
It would be the same same banner, the same dimensions, the same frame, just a different picture maybe in each banner. Yes, that has been in the part of the plan since the beginning.
Commissioner Engel?
Yes.
Commissioners, may I ask Lauren if she can refresh us on how much the design input for the Cathedral District maps? I know we had help with those. I don't remember what it cost.
Chair or Commissioner Sakerson, Chair Commissioners, the project cost for the design services for the cathedral area was a little over $3,000 or around $3,000. That went out for design services through a solicitation process for that. It could change. I don't know for that.
Thank you.
I had a question. I don't know who would have an answer of what will happen to the banners that are already up in some of these places. Will they come, because I know like University of Mary has banners up. Will they be permanently replaced, or I know there's been talk among different folks of like trying to get like seasonal banners up. I know like Pride Month was one I heard from a business owner downtown. Would they be switched out occasionally, or I don't know what the plans were.
I think they were going to replace the 150th banners.
Nope.
Correct? No?
Go ahead. Chair Engel and Commissioner, there is a cycle that they use. They do holiday banners. They do some graduation banners. They have the downtowners and others have banners that are on a rotating basis. And we've talked about work. That's why they're also on this, is to work with them to put them in the cycle. Or if there are specific places where they aren't right now that we need to be, that we would have our own. Most of the poles, if you look downtown, most of the poles already have the hardware that are allowed to have hardware. But there aren't a lot of banners like down by the warehouse district or by Camp Hancock or in some of the other thematic areas of the downtown. And so there are some places where potentially they could be more permanent. But I think that the goal has been to work them into the rotation with the downtowners in the city and others.
Thanks, Commissioner Nodland.
All right, so you want us to give you and your subcommittee another month before we take a vote on design services, or do you want us to, somebody to make that motion now?
Do we need a motion? It's in the grant. I mean, do you need a motion to?
Commissioner Nodland, Chair, Commissioners, I was just wanting to make sure that this is going forward and providing a little direction if we're looking to do design services or if the subcommittee was looking to do the design, like was kind of happened with the Highland Acres and the cathedral area before they went out for design services for one of those. I just wanted some direction on where this was going. I believe, based on what Commissioner Nodland said, you wanted until next month to determine,
Till our March meeting,
till the March meeting to determine,
to be able to hold another meeting and see if we can get a group recommendation to come back to us in March how to go forward with it and whether or not so by March, we would come back with a subcommittee recommendation. I mean, if that's not okay, and if you need it sooner than that, I'm completely okay with somebody else doing it. I mean, I don't have it now, and so I think I can get it by the next one.
Yes, Commissioner Sanderson.
Chair Engel, Commissioners, so if it would help that we kind of assume that design service at some point would be, we would need for this, would that be a motion that would be useful to you at this point? Because, I mean, just knowing that that's something that we would have to be looking at might give your section of things some opportunity to fiddle things around.
Commissioner Sakerson, Chair, Commissioners, if that is the route that you are for sure going for design services and would like to, then yes, I would say that would be a motion to have.
Sure. Yes. I don't remember us having another line item of a grant that we needed to decide before we decided. So we have a volunteer design that has come to us that might be fine if that's the direction we go. But I just know that we have always said this would be a little more complex, and on all of our other stuff, we've tried to do it professionally and have it look really nice. So I would recommend to my fellow commissioners that we plan to have a design service element of this project. I don't know how much it is, or I don't know if it will actually end up being used in the end or not, or if some commissioner member or subcommittee member will volunteer design. You know, if I'm asking for another month to come back with a recommendation.
Okay, I think at this point then we will table this and wait until the March meeting and we can talk further, and if you guys have some ideas or plans and want to put it out to the commission before that meeting, so we kind of have an idea if you've got some mock-ups or something, by email, or just to include in the packet so we've got something to look at. I like pretty pictures. That might be good if you can do that, but otherwise we can kind of figure out which other direction we're going to go if we don't do that one. So thank you. And I realize everybody's time is a little bit crazy right now with everything going on, so I understand completely. So, okay. Since we do not need any motions at this time for that item, we'll move on to the 2024 Historic Preservation Fund grant update.
Chair Engel and Commissioners, the request for proposals for the South Capitol Survey opened on January 14th, and it will close on February 21st, 2025 at 5 o'clock p.m. A tentative timeline of the following steps, as noted in the RFP for this project, is provided in the agenda packet for you. The proposed consultant selection will be provided to the Historic Preservation Commission at the next regular meeting in March. The selected consultant and their proposal will need to be approved by the City Commission as well. If everything follows the tentative timeline for this project, work on the survey can start around mid-May, and that's just going off the timeline that was provided. Staff recommends that the Historic Preservation Commission determine who will participate in the selection committee for this. Staff's recommendation for the selection committee includes the staff coordinator for the commission, Daniel Nairn, the planning manager, as well as Commissioner Swanson, who has background with architecture. Additionally, under this agenda item 3B for the 2024 Historic Preservation Grant application, just a quick update on the local history education resources. 4 subcommittee meetings have been held so far for this project between 2024 and 2025. Based on discussion and experience provided by members of the subcommittee, it was determined that 2 education resource kits will be created, one focusing on the 4th grade and one focusing on the 8th grade. However, these are not limited to only these grades. Other members of the community will be able to use them as well. It's just providing a little bit closer focus for that. A general topic of the Great Depression in Bismarck from the 1930s to pre-World War II will guide the creation of each kit's resources. Additional information pertaining to this project will be provided to the Historic Preservation Commission as work progresses. No action is required for that item by the Historic Preservation Commission at this time.
All right, thank you, Lauren. So Lauren, Daniel, and Commissioner Swanson have been identified as members of the review selection committee for the South Capitol Survey. Does anybody have any other thoughts on that, or anybody else want to be included in that for the review?
I will recuse myself from being involved in that selection process.
Thank you, Commissioner Sackerson. Anybody else? I would be able to sit in and review that. I have no knowledge that I have a conflict at this time with that. If there is a conflict later on, I will recuse myself. How's that? Does anybody else have any problems with me reviewing those?
If you do have a conflict, I can step in. I won't have a conflict.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Commissioner Hull is my second, then. Or if I get too busy, right, you're just going to jump right. That's what I figured.
No.
Okay, great. Do we actually need to have a motion for that, or is that just identification of?
I think just an identification is fine. I don't think a formal motion is needed.
Okay, sounds great. Thank you. Let's see. Then the last item under the regular agenda is the Historic Preservation Month ideas.
Chair Engel and Commissioners, May is Historic Preservation Month, and it's fast approaching us. Established in 1973 by the National Trust for Historic Preservation, it provides an avenue to promote historic places, events, and activities for the purpose of instilling national, regional, and local community pride, promoting heritage tourism, and highlighting the social and economic benefits of historic preservation to the community. Last year, the Historic Preservation Commission participated in celebrating and promoting this occasion in Bismarck. Those activities included creating a small exhibit on artifacts from the downtown historic district where some archaeology was showcased, partnering up with Rob Hanna to provide a historic walking tour in downtown Bismarck. Commissioner Nodland provided a presentation on the Bismarck timeline. a partnership with Ben Kubishta to provide a presentation on how highways and roads influence the Bismarck community, as well as a promotion of the Bismarck Historical Society's Founders Day event and their History Hot Dish episodes. Some additional activities for consideration for Historic Preservation Month may also include promoting literature written by Bismarck residents or that provide information on historic preservation or Bismarck's history, providing historic preservation information, and promoting Bismarck's history through a series of social media posts, holding a preservation scavenger hunt highlighting locations, objects, and potentially people similar to what was offered as part of the sesquicentennial celebration. Holding a how-to workshop, which could include topics like weatherization or window, door, or siding repairs to historic properties. Partnering with other local historic preservation groups on activities, events, or projects. Creating coloring pages of historic properties with fun facts attached to them. Hosting a history documentary movie night. So those are some potential additional ideas or other ideas that could be included as part of our activities for Historic Preservation Month. Based on the time and coordination that was needed for last year's activities, it would be best to determine potential activities earlier so staff has additional time to coordinate potential volunteers, partnership opportunities, locations, and activity setup if needed. Staff recommends discussing and providing direction on how the Historic Preservation Commission would like to celebrate Historic Preservation Month.
All right, thank you, Lauren. Let's hear your ideas. Commissioner Persley?
Chair Engel and Commissioners, did trivia go over good last year?
I
At
think it
Laughing
did.
Sun, would we want to consider something like that again?
Yes, I think that was really well received in the community.
Seemed like there was quite a few people there playing, so.
Chair Engel, Commissioners, I have heard that they are planning to do the same activity again. Bismarck Historical Society is planning to host another trivia event on Founders Day again this year.
Excellent.
So would that be something that it would be worth reaching out to the Bismarck Historical Society people and see if they would like to have us partner in that again? Because I think we did last year.
I think, yeah, we'll make sure that happens. Great.
Who would reach out?
I guess that would be me or Lauren.
Commissioner Persley, Chair Commissioners, staff actually has a meeting tomorrow with the Vice President, Jason, tomorrow to discuss various historic preservation activities in the community, so staff could bring it up at that time.
Excellent. Thank you, Lauren. That takes one thing off my plate. That's awesome. Any other ideas, Commissioner Sackerson? It's going to take a while to do that.
Yes, Chair Engel. There are a number of Bismarck residents who have been published. It might be interesting to reach out to the public library and see if they would be willing to either post a list or share a list with their patrons during that month of, I was just looking at American Daughter by, Arabella Thompson. There are a number of other writers, including Deborah Marquardt, who lived for a time on Avenue A. She wrote Growing Up on the Horizontal, I believe, which was quite well received. She teaches at the University of Iowa. But there are a number of people who are connected with Bismarck who are published, and just calling that out in even a leaflet that they can have available for their patrons to sort of call out and maybe do a display of books from that might be a very simple way to tie Bismarck's literary history with May. So, I'm willing to reach out to the library on that and get a list and see if we can generate some sort of a reading list for people that's appropriate.
Sounds fun.
Chair Engel and Commissioners, for the, was it the how-to workshop, dealing with weatherization, window, door, and all that, I know the former governor's mansion's always looking to try and boost, I guess attendance numbers or visitor numbers, so that might be something they would be interested in partnership, because that's, I don't know, that's probably the best example of a historic house or building in the town, in all Bismarck.
Do you have a connection there that you would like to explore and see if they're interested?
I have an indirect connection. I know some people at the Historical Society. I can reach out to find out who.
That'd be great. I will put you down for that.
Yeah. I won't be available for the event, though, probably.
Okay.
Be a little busy.
A little busy. Yes. Commissioner Nodland.
Chair Engel, I almost said it. I am willing to volunteer our display again if anybody wants to do a month display. And I don't know how the previous posts that the city did, they used the information in the timeline, but there's a lot more of them. And so I don't know if Emily did a lot of editing of them in order to get posted on the city website during the month, but that seems like it would be a fairly easy one, and I think some of them had a pretty wide reach. So that might be if we could do that again. That seemed that a couple of them got a lot of attention.
Sounds great.
The literature written in Bismarck, there are a lot of local people who have also self-published a lot of history. So I think and a lot of also historical fiction about Bismarck. So I don't know if that's if you're intending to include those kinds of people on the list, but there are quite a few local people. I don't know what the threshold of inclusion is, but a lot of people like to read historical fiction. So
That might be, Commissioner Engel, commissioners, that might be something, if we were going to use your window, one of the easiest things might be to simply blow up book covers for some of those titles and hang those in there or easel them in there. That would be a pretty low impact, low cost, low time thing that would call attention to Bismarck's literary history and call up, if the library's having a brochure or a display of the books themselves.
That's what I was thinking, that the library has that initial front kiosk inside the entryway that they do for thematic displays. If we could get them to display that during the month of May, or even for a 2-week period inside of the month of May, I think that would be a really good opportunity to showcase some of our local historic people and authors.
Chair Engel.
Yes.
Could somebody talk to the people at Barnes & Noble as well and ask if they would put a little display of Bismarck authors, if they have those? I know they do local authors, state authors, but maybe if they did.
They do. I think they don't have any problem with calling out some specific groupings and stuff. I know for the local book clubs, they'll usually tag them that this is the month thing, so we can talk to them too. Commissioner Sagerson would love to do that. No? Okay.
Chair Engel.
Yes.
Then I don't know what, I'm assuming the other groups, the Bismarck Historical Society and other groups are going to be doing some stuff too, like with the history documentary. And I mean, they've been recording some more of the family histories. So if they have events through the month, that might be something that when you're having your conversation with them, if we can help promote those.
For sure.
I know that there's they've been doing a lot of work on that. I don't know where they are, but the ones that they did in the past were worth keep promoting.
And Lauren, are you going to create your one sheet of all the events that we're going to have, and we can promote ours as well as the Bismarck Historical Society's event on that sheet of your?
Chair Engel, commissioners, I was planning on doing something similar to that. Just based on all your great ideas that you provided, I'll try to get it into a sheet. If not, I'll do some other sort of workaround for maybe a fuller list, but maybe calling out certain key events of our own that we would be highlighting, but having a larger list of all the activities that we're also promoting on the side as well.
That would be great. Thank
Chair
you.
Engel.
Yes.
I know last year we had the downtown tour, but I think at some point I had talked to, and somebody else had talked to as well, about doing a tour in the cemeteries. I think, is it Paulette Bullinger who does the tours in the cemeteries? Of trying to, and then I think Stacy Sturm does some downtown ghost tours or whatever. But I mean, there are various tours going on that, and Eric had done the historic cathedral district tours. So, I mean, if I don't know what the response was or the turnout was last year for the downtown one, but if people like that.
Commissioner Nodland, Chair, Commissioners, I actually attended. It was, we had around 20 or so number for that specific tour. Since it was a little last minute, it was kind of harder to hear. It was a really windy day, and the mic kind of cut out a bit, but I think the turnout was really great, and I think we would get numbers if we would do something similar to that.
For sure. Awesome. I think that's quite a big list, actually, for such short notice. There's one thing I would like to put on the commission's radar. At the subcommittee meeting for the plan, an idea came up, and this would be for May 2026, but it's going to take some lifting to get this done. We were talking about having a historical preservation event, something big with booths, people that would want to do some repair workshops or have a booth about that sort of thing, somebody else doing genealogy. You know, just invite the people that do historic preservation in any capacity, having booths, and maybe we can do displays or have a panel discussion, something larger. But that's why we're going to not do it this year, talking about 2026. So we have time to plan. Lauren, did I miss anything with that?
Chair Engel, I don't believe you did. I think that was a great recap of what was discussed at the meeting.
So we will, I think we called it a preservation fair, mainly for flair. But, and there's plenty of venue space downtown, either outside or inside, that we could maybe negotiate with people for that space. I think it's going to be good, but it will take a while. And we'll get to that later. But I just wanted to put it on the record so I don't forget it. And then come up next year at this time going, oh man, we were going to do something great. Yeah, right. So, other than that, I think we're on to other business. Talking Trails engagement numbers.
Chair Engel and Commissioners, just a brief update on the Talking Trail resource. They provided an overview of 2024's numbers. I've provided just a brief graph here to show you since we started in 22 to where we were at the end of 24, where the engagement numbers were. This does include website interactions, which may include more than one interaction, but they can only log one at a time for that. Mobile app that they have, and the dial-in option. As you can see, there is quite a bit of an increase since when it started to where we currently are. Another item that they did show, they do keep track of how many interactions there are for specific points. So you can kind of see here the Prince Hotel had the most interactions. The second one is the Bismarck Rail Depot, and the third is Patterson Hotel. So it's kind of interesting to see which ones were interacted more than others. Just iteration of kind of what those ones include. Another thing that Talking Trail staff did note to me was that They are currently working with other clients that they have to create a more formal brochure, similar to what is on the screen here. This is an inside panel of what their brochures look like. They noted that they do see an increase in usage numbers when they have a brochure like this. They do charge $350 for the design of the brochure. However, that does not include the print of the brochure, so that would be an additional cost if down the road that's something the Historic Preservation Commission would like to do. Just putting that out there for information purposes. Commissioner Nodland.
Lauren, do you know do they distribute the brochure, or is that just something that whoever their client is, I mean, would they be responsible for that?
It would be through the client who would distribute the brochure, so it could be through either placing it in different areas, like public locations, similar to how we do our other brochures that we have, or handing it out at events, or through the rack program that the state has for their different brochures. They do have clients that go that route as well.
So I don't understand the client. So we would be responsible for it.
That is correct. We, in that relationship, is the
Would it be a talking
client.
trail brochure or a Bismarck brochure?
It would be the talking trail brochure of the Bismarck talking trail points, if that makes sense. Sorry. Another option that staff was recently made aware of that came through the Community Development Department is a different client, the Northern Plains National Heritage Area actually has their own item, and they created a postcard. We are included on here, as you can see. But they do have this option going around as a postcard option with a QR code link to those, the Talking Trail app. So that is another option that's out there. Just providing all the information to you. There's no action or anything with this. I just want to make the commission aware that the next renewal point for the Talking Trails resource is at the beginning of 2026. The last time when we did renew with Talking Trail, it was for a 2-year term, so 2024 and 2025. So if this is a resource that we would like to maintain, we might want to look at funding that resource again. Just for a heads up.
Thank you, Lauren. Yes, Commissioner Nodland?
Chair Engel, can you remind us how it was funded last time?
It was, Commissioner Nodland, Chair, Commissioners, it was funded trying to utilize some of the remaining 2022 Historic Preservation Fund grant money. That may be an option as we get closer, either with the 2023 or 2024, depending on how the remaining funds are utilized or if we have any additional funds.
And what was the cost of that? Do you remember?
It was $1,200 per year.
Is it in our current grant request proposal?
That's a great question, Commissioner Nodland. It is not currently within our budget for any of our current items.
Probably should be. Would think we would want to keep going.
Chair Engel, Commissioners, the grant application for the 2025 Historic Preservation Fund has already been submitted, and the deadline was last Friday, so.
But we do have extra funds from the previous years that we could use. We may.
Chair Engel, Commissioners, we didn't utilize our full budgeted amount for the walking tour maps for the cathedral area and downtown historic districts. There may be an option to renew for an additional year and then reapply for grant funding for that specific resource
Might be a good,
as an option.
good balance. Yeah, thank you. Any other discussion on that? Hearing none. That's the end of the regular agenda and other business, sorry. Is there any new business?
Yes, I actually, Commissioner Engel and Commissioners, I think that we need to sort of mark this going forward, that given the nature of much of our funding comes through Park Service, money that comes through SHPO, and I know that the State Historic Preservation Office is already beginning to feel cutbacks in the amount of money that they will be getting from those federal sources that we've counted on, that we may want to have an occasional update with the SHPO to see how this is all shaking out, because I sadly think it actually will affect us. And so when we need to be watching and alert to where our funding sources, what's going to affect our funding sources for our projects.
Thank you, Commissioner Sackerson. Keep that in mind, and I will try and touch base with our contacts up there to make sure that we're on top of it and we know as quickly as possible. Is there any other business? Okay, hearing none, the meeting is adjourned, and the next regular Historic Preservation Commission meeting will be somewhere I can't find right now. That's awesome. March 19th at 3 p.m. right here. Thank you.